My name is Richard Hartman. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and actually I'm here at the close of the 52nd annual training seminar for the International Conference of Police Chaplains, and I cannot say enough about Hey Chaplain. So give it a listen and continue to listen. God bless.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Hockett. I currently serve with the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office there in Wichita, Kansas. Thank you for listening to the Hey Chaplain podcast.
Welcome to the Daily ICPC. My name is Jared Altic, and I'm a chaplain with the police department. This is a limited podcast series from Hey Chaplain, which follows police chaplains Jared Altic and Ward Jenkins to Little Rock, Arkansas, to attend the annual training seminar of the ICPC, the International Conference of Police Chaplains. This series will provide a daily behind-the-scenes look at the convention, and this is our after-action review episode, which brings this mini-series to its conclusion. And we'll be primarily discussing our best arguments for why police officers and chaplains would want to attend ICPC conferences. Hello, Ward. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jared. How are you doing?
I am doing okay. I tell you what, though. My trip back was fatiguing.
Oh no!
I thought the trip down was better. I got stuck in Dallas. It repeated itself and then some on my trip back.
Let the record reflect that I won.
Yes, you did. Oh my goodness! I knew you would beat me home because my flight out was so late in the day, and I have flown all my whole life. I know that flights late in the day have a higher chance of being delayed because they depend on a previous flight.
That's right.
And so anything that happens, like a chain of dominoes falling, I knew that.
Sure. But
I've had really good luck lately, and that luck ran out. So on my trip down, I connected through Dallas and got stuck in Dallas for multiple hours extra.
Right. I remember that.
And got in late. I think you picked me up at midnight or later, and it was a late night, setting up the table and then getting to bed. Pretty late night.
Yeah.
This time I flew and connected through St. Louis.
Oh.
And St. Louis, there was some flight coming out of Boston that was like 3.5 hours behind schedule, and it kept slipping.
Oh.
And God bless the person who runs the app for Southwest Airlines. But every time it slipped a minute, I'd get a new alert. And so I must have gotten 50 alerts as it slipped 1 minute at a time.
Wow.
I got in, so I got back, flew into Kansas City finally, and got an Uber. So I wasn't going to ask my family to come get me at 3 in the morning.
Gotcha.
And I think I was in bed at 4:30 in the morning is when I rolled into bed.
Ouch.
And so it was kind of brutal. And some of that I when I get home I have to unpack. I can't just leave everything undone. And so I have to get most of the stuff put away and whatever. So it takes me a minute when I get home.
Yeah.
But mercy sakes, that was a long day in the St. Louis airport.
Wow. I've been through St. Louis once or twice, and I think I'd rather be stuck in Dallas. I don't want to offend anybody in St. Louis, but
Now it's funny. St. Louis has connections to me, new and old. So I've got several new friends from St. Louis, and our associate minister at our church is from St. Louis. It's his hometown.
Gotcha.
And so I have some St. Louis connections that are new.
Sure.
And then when I was growing up, my dad worked for Trans World Airlines for TWA.
TWA, yeah.
And their hub was in St. Louis.
No kidding.
And so everywhere we flew, and we flew all the time.
You always went through St. Louis.
We went to Hawaii by way of St. Louis. So we backtracked across the state of Missouri and then flew to Hawaii. Right. And so I remember as a little kid, the St. Louis airport, Lambert Airport, it's a long series of buildings.
Gotcha.
And there's these these moving sidewalks.
Okay.
Like escalators.
Yeah. But
flat.
Yeah.
And as a little kid, oh my goodness, we'd have layovers there every trip.
Right.
And my brother and I, we'd run up and down those moving sidewalks, probably annoying all the other passengers.
Yeah, but not annoying your parents because they wanted you to get your energy out.
Yes. And so I went and walked to the airport, and maybe it wasn't quite the same part of the airport, but it's set up the same way.
Nostalgia.
And some of it is exactly how I remember it.
Yeah.
And so that is that, going back 30 years ago.
Right.
And that was probably like 35 years ago.
Well, and in all fairness, anybody could have bagged on Kansas City's airport up until about 2 years ago. Now we got a pretty nice.
People hated the old airport, and it was so unique.
Yep.
It was three rings like a clover,
Right.
and it was interesting. And the gate was never more than like 30 feet from the curb,
Right.
And it was
Right.
very interesting. But about the time it was built is when terrorism and stuff kicked in, and you had to have more security, which meant the airport was fundamentally dysfunctional.
Correct.
And people hated it. And as it aged, people would come in, and it was a 1-story thing. And so people were like, this looks like a bus terminal. And it didn't age well.
It did not, no.
Beautiful design. It didn't age well. And now we have.
We have a lot in common that way. I'm not aging.
Well, we have a beautiful airport now.
We do.
And
We do.
so I survived it. You know what? I was also thankful that if I'm going to get delayed late into the night, I was thankful I was flying alone.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to put my family through that.
Yeah.
And
I
so
get
I don't believe in airline karma exactly, but I'm hoping that I've used up all my super long delays for a little while. The next time I travel with my wife, she won't have to go through that.
Amen. Let's hope for that.
And I'll book flights first thing in the morning.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Tell me about your trip home.
I had a good drive back. I ventured when I stopped at my gas station. I needed a bite to eat, and of all things, I bought sushi from my gas station.
Oh, we put a picture of it on Instagram. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's smart, and I'm not saying anyone should do it, but it was fine. It was good. I enjoyed it, and it didn't hurt me a bit. But the strangest thing happened on my way home. I was probably 4 hours into my drive, and I got a call from my bank that my chaplains fund uses, and I have a relationship with the people that work in the bank, and they were worried about a customer of theirs that they hadn't seen for a while, and there was no bank activity going on, and there were some extenuating circumstances. It wasn't going to be just simply as easy as calling the police and saying I need a welfare check. There was a lot of detail, and so I reached out and I got some counsel because I wasn't sure who I was going to call, and ultimately I ended up speaking with the watch commander. I explained everything to him. He got a unit out there with a sergeant, and they did find the customer, and he had died. He had died in bed. And then I needed to call my friend back.
How many days? I hate to ask.
I think we're looking at about a 20-day gap between his last banking activity and the date of the check.
Oh,
and from what I understood, he had been gone for a while.
Okay. Okay. I've been on a few calls like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There does reach a certain point. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, but at a certain point, the longer the better.
That's true.
There's a time frame.
That's true. Yeah. There's a middle ground that's awful.
Yeah.
There's a middle ground that's scary bad.
Yeah.
But newly dead and dead for a month are probably fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think,
and in July,
I know
a house that's air conditioned is not as horrific as one that's not.
Correct.
And so, or like a garage or an outbuilding. I've been to one of those.
Yeah. And, our unwritten rule in chaplaincy is never, ever deliver. In fact, I had a class, or someone even said this in one of my classes, never give a death notification on the phone. And here I was, but the
working the whole thing on the phone while on the road.
Yeah. But I had to call her back because no one else was going to call her. And she was going to be left hanging, not knowing the outcome. And so
explain to me why, because I know you believe that you would not normally do like a next of kin notification over the phone. You'd avoid that at all cost if it were possible.
Absolutely.
But this is different. Explain why this is different.
Because this is a bank customer relationship. So it's not the same as next of kin. I would say that they had friendship in the same way that I feel friendship with this vice president that I'm speaking with. When I heard her grief, it hurt me.
Yeah.
My grief was really
she cared.
I didn't have any knowledge of the man that died, and so I had no actual grief for his death. I had grief for her grief.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was able to pray with her, and I know that she's a woman of faith. We've had other deep conversations about losing parents and death and stuff in my time of sitting in the bank with her and that kind of a thing. So anyway, so I just felt like it was the best thing to do to call her back, to give her closure. Otherwise, she was going to go for how long, not knowing the outcome, and no one else was going to do it. And I felt like in this situation, it was best coming from me and coming from me now.
Yeah.
So
no, that's good. That's good. And I've had to do that too, where I'll do a notification with the next of kin, but then they have multiple family.
Right.
They want, it'd be better for them to hear it over the phone than over social media.
Correct.
And so they hand me a phone and say, can you talk to Uncle so-and-so?
Correct.
And I've actually, same thing, I'll tell people, don't ever do one over the phone. But then I've done several that were like second level or, tertiary level.
Right.
Type, second or third level.
And and the big thing for us as chaplains is that we never want to leave somebody who's grieving alone. That's our big concern.
Yeah.
And I knew in this case that my friend was not alone. She had her own support group, her husband, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't worried about that. But all those things swirl through your brain real quick. And but that's our concern, and that's why it's important when we do deliver death notifications or we're present at the scene of a death. I mean, I'll never leave a scene unless someone else is there to be with the grief-stricken parties, whoever they are.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go through is it the F's, family, friends, or faith leaders?
Right.
And is there another one? Is it just three or is there four?
Yeah.
But there's little mnemonic devices like that. So when you're on scene, you're thinking, okay, now who can I direct these people toward? Because I'm not their long-term support system. And knowing that, okay, do you have a friend? Do you have family? Do you have a faith leader? That's I think that's from Barry Young.
Yeah,
I think he had. I'm sure it is. I'm confident he's real good at that kind of stuff.
Let's give him he gets credit.
He gets credit for it. I don't know where he got it from, but Barry gets credit, and he should.
Yeah.
But having a little mnemonic like that helps us, know that we're leaving somebody in good hands.
Correct.
And in this case, this is, to me, I think that story is a good example of an exception to the rule.
Yeah. Well,
so
I hope so. But it's the way it went. So.
Yeah. So I was looking through the photos you sent me for Instagram. What tunnel did you go through?
Oh, there's a really cool. I can't tell you the guy's name. This is Interstate 49. It connects basically Fayetteville with Fort down the hill. Was that Fort Smith down the hill?
Okay.
And it's a tunnel that you go through, and I always think of the song John Jacob Jingleheimer-Schmidt. Yeah. Okay. It's a name like that. That's not the name. That's not the name.
The tunnel's name for
that's the only thing I can think of right now. It's the John Jacob Jingleheimer-Schmidt tunnel.
Our apologies to whatever great American that tunnel was named after. Right?
That's best I can do for you. Sorry.
That's funny. Yeah. Now I drove from. So years ago, I drove Joplin south to Fort Smith and then over into Oklahoma to the Kiamichis. Now that's 35 years ago.
You probably took, I don't know if this tunnel, I think it was there. I think the tunnel's old.
Okay. I just don't remember a tunnel in that area, I'm not familiar with it.
Well, okay. So this highway would maybe not have been built yet, the whole highway. You might have gone other highways now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Huh. I'm going to have to look at a map, figure this out. I like tunnels. I think that's fascinating. You sent me those pictures. I'm like, a tunnel? Yeah. You got to go through a tunnel?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that would have talked me out of flying. If I'd known there was a tunnel.
That's not the reason I drove, but I can roll with that.
That's funny. How's the rest of your trip?
Yeah, great. Good to get home. Really good to get home. See my wife, and here, also I even though this wasn't some big, heavy, deep thing I did on the way home, it did weigh on me a little bit. But within 10 minutes of me clearing everything up, she called. And I was able to speak with her. And I told her, I'm really glad you called because I needed to talk about this. Self-care is important for all of us, no matter who we are. So
absolutely.
Anyway. Good drive home. A little bit of rain at the end, but not bad. So
fantastic. So talk to me about ICPC. Now, we discussed our own views and experiences in the mini-series. We talked about what we liked, what we didn't like. We talked about, what we want to do with ICPC. But I'm looking for an elevator pitch. Okay. What is, maybe we should workshop that right now. Okay. So if we're trying to convince other chaplains to attend and also convince officers to attend and take the basic classes and the liaison classes, which is basically what I did this time.
Right.
If you're wanting to be a chaplain coordinator or a wellness officer or some other equivalent position in your department where you might be managing chaplains, what's their sales pitch for those two groups to come participate in ICPC trainings in the future?
For me, we're talking about a liaison position. I think that's what ICPC calls it. So
yes. What did I call it?
Well, coordinator, but
yes,
in their language, liaison. So if you're a chaplain liaison of any kind, ICPC will recognize you and give you membership. And I think it's valid. Look, this is
and credentialing.
Yeah.
You have to have like 50 hours of continuing education, right, and then their 14 courses they teach,
right,
and which would count as, well, it'll be 21 hours, I think, and so you'd need another 29 hours. I believe. I'll double check all this before I publish it.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure, because the liaison is actually just a half a step more requirements than the basic.
Gotcha.
Than the chaplain basic credentialing.
I think it's the adage of, look, if you're going to supervise, you should know who you're supervising and what their job requirements are.
Yes.
I think, to me, if I'm going to be a coordinator or a liaison for my chaplains, I really want to know how chaplains think, what they feel, what they experience, what's their motivation.
Are you saying that every cop doesn't already understand what a chaplain does?
Well, based on the questions, yeah, I would say that. I would definitely.
What about when you were a young sergeant? Would you have had a good take on what a chaplain could have done for you?
I mean, not really. I understood why. Now, the chaplain that I had when I was a street cop was a Catholic priest, and he would walk around with his clerical collar on. And I'm just going to be flat honest with you. It actually was a barrier for me wanting to talk with him because I'm not Catholic. And because it sort of elevated him to this status of, that's a priest.
A little unapproachable.
Yeah. Like, I don't, I got it. I can't swear. I can't, so that's just me. That's just
don't want his collar tab to burst into flames.
Amen.
That's
Amen.
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I knew they were there for spiritual reasons, but I never saw a chaplain ever do a ride along in my career. I did work with a police officer who was we call him sworn out in Los Angeles. Here you'd call him commissioned, but he was an active working police officer. He was a training officer, and he was a chaplain. But that's the only one I ever knew that was like full both time.
Slightly off topic, but adjacent. Did you always run 2-man cars?
Yes, in the division that I worked, which was 77th Division, we always ran 2-man cars unless you worked a report car where you just went around taking reports.
Okay.
So then you would ride by yourself, and if you're a supervisor, you're riding by yourself.
And did they do civilian ride-alongs?
Yeah, we had ride-alongs for people that
like in the back seat.
No, you'd be in the front seat. So a ride-along normally wouldn't go with a 2-man. In LAPD back then, I assume it's the same now. Our ride-alongs went with a sergeant.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only ride-alongs that we have in now as a recruit in the police academy, we did have a third officer ride-along where you rode around in the back seat of a police car with 2 officers up front. Now, I'm dating myself. We didn't have cages,
Okay.
And they weren't the hard.
Nowadays, most setups, not all, but most setups, you're talking about a hard plastic bench and it will accommodate someone who's handcuffed and someone who might urinate and vomit and whatever else.
Correct. Yeah. And have all the plexiglass between you and the front. That's not the way it was for me. So,
okay. So this coordinator liaison person, there's a lot they could learn about chaplaincy because part of the liaison courses take the 10 basic chaplain courses.
Right.
And so everything about call outs and suicide and stress management and
alcoholism,
and all
death notifications.
Death notifications. That's a big, there's an entire section just on death notifications.
Right.
So that'd be really good.
Yeah.
And then specifically the liaison classes, I took 3 of the 4 this time. And they walked through, this is how to manage, this is how to help write your department SOP.
Oh, nice.
And the problem is that there's no one size fits all solution.
Right.
So every department's going to have it tailored a little bit for what they want, what they have had in the past, what they have to accommodate now and in the future. So there's not one size fit. They don't just hand you, here's your chaplain SOP, copy and paste.
Correct.
But here's all the issues that you're going to deal with.
Right.
And including a sheriff or a chief changing their mind about, are we putting our chaplains in uniform or not?
Right. Right.
Are we allowing our chaplains to use or wear this particular piece of equipment? Do we allow them on the radio? There's all these questions that frankly a chief or a sheriff could just one day wake up and say, no, we're going to do the opposite now. Right. And there's not a right or wrong. There's pros and cons, but they have the prerogative to change that. And you might have to rewrite your SOP. Correct. But that was part of what was covered. Right. And is really informative. I'd hate to be a chaplain liaison. Your sheriff comes in and says, hey, I want you to start a chaplain program. And you're like starting from scratch. That would be a nightmare. Well, and I'm helping a local agency do that right now. Yeah. But you've got ICPC. I do. To support you and give you resources and all that kind of stuff. That's right. Yeah. I feel like that's really good. So what about chaplains? There are great local and regional trainers in different parts of the country. And some countries are more blessed than others. Right. In fact, I heard someone say that in our part of the country, we don't have anybody, which shocked me. Right. And in fact, I think they referenced Barry Young. They said Barry Young came all the way out to our state because we don't have anybody that does this. And I feel like we have several here in the Midwest. Yeah. But we have good ones. We do. But if you want ICPC, what's the elevator pitch there? What kind of things should we be arguing for? Here's where I go with ICPC. And I think we touched on this early on. They are recognized by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. So there is a bona fide recognition of the organization by another organization that every police and sheriff's agency belongs to. So the ICPC, the International Conference of Police Chaplains, have memorandums of understanding with other organizations too, and with other countries. Correct. And so it's not just this Chiefs of Police organization, which is very important, but there are several other groups. The ICISF, they are the gold standard, and there's a memorandum of understanding between ICPC and them. Right. There's multiple countries where these national police forces of other countries have said ICPC is the professional chaplain organization that we recognize. Correct. And as I understand it, the number of organizations and other nations that are recognizing ICPC is growing. Well, we just saw an MOU signed at our Yes, we did. With Moldova. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so tiny little landlocked country up the edge of Ukraine. Yeah. They're one of the newest ones that have signed an agreement, said that ICPC is the organization that we recognize. Right. Now, if that was it was just, oh gosh, they have a great title, I wouldn't say so. But the training that ICPC offers is great. And the wisdom and the years of experience and everything else. And I wouldn't say again that, look, if you send your chaplains through ICPC, they're never going to make a mistake. I wouldn't tell anybody that. No, ICPC doesn't say that. Correct. Yeah, they are not saying, hey, our credential proves that this person's flawless. That's not what they say. And in fact, coming up soon, the Billy Graham is going to do law enforcement chaplain training in our neck of the woods coming up fairly soon. So that would be another entity that does law enforcement specific training, and I have not attended that, so I can't speak to it. But I don't think training is ever going to be bad. But let's all start from the same place. Yeah. That's my kind of my mantra, if you will. That's my pitch. Let's start from the same place. And then if we need to develop things in our own county or city that are specific to us, look, I've got in the city that I work for, in the department I work for, I have synagogues, I have a mosque, I have Christian churches, Catholic churches.
I have what I would characterize as a cult or two.
Yeah.
And then I have other kind of mainstream Jehovah's Witnesses and things like that we could argue, or I don't want to, but we have a wide, and then we have a lot of people that just are. We have Buddhists that live nearby, but they work and drive through our city, so we have to be sensitive to all of these needs. So there's a lot going on here. You might be out in a rural area that's 100% Christian,
Right.
or 100% something else, and so you're going to take your policy and what you're doing, and how you respond, and you're going to tailor that for your specific needs.
Yeah.
And I guess where I would look at, I think here's how I would look at something like the Billy Graham organization, which I have great respect for.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be a disaster response. I think that's their kind of their bread and butter, if you will, and it's great, and that's what they're doing. But the training and the international side of it, I think, is going to be better suited with ICPC.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And you can supplement with training through
Absolutely.
FEMA and Red Cross and Billy Graham.
Absolutely.
And all these are great places. There's lots of fire chaplain training that's out there that I think could be really smart for a chaplain. Even if you're strictly police and police only, go find out how fire chaplains operate and how an incident command system works.
Yes.
If you're on a big natural disaster or forest fire or whatever, it would be smart to not be clueless when you show up on scene.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the classes that you can take, they're free, they're online, and they would actually help you even if you're off in the secular world of managing people. And the principles are standard across the board. You know, so very worthwhile. Very worthwhile.
So Ward, give me your best 30-second elevator pitch. You got a group of chaplains, they've never been to ICPC. It does cost some money to travel.
It does.
How do you convince them to ask their agency or their churches to help send them to ICPC?
I think just the professional development that we receive at ICPC is second to none. That's period. That's what I would say. And there is a small investment, but look at the vast majority of us are volunteers, and so every dollar that an agency invests in our training simply turns around and helps them down the road. We're going to be better at supporting the men and women who are police officers or sheriffs, in law enforcement.
Yeah. So, in fact, I would add to that, if we're moving from trying to convince the chaplains to convincing the people who have to pay for the chaplains to go,
right.
I think that's maybe the part I would underline, is that chaplains can be a force multiplier.
Absolutely.
And those chaplains can help recruit, can help retain, can help preserve a healthy culture in a police department and keep your people healthy and keep your people moving forward. There's a lot of good that can come from professional chaplains.
Yes.
But only if you train them to be professional.
Correct. The other thing is we get a synergy. Look, Jared, I know you and I serve in different cities, but if I needed you, I could call you.
Absolutely.
My department doesn't necessarily know that you exist.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Oh, I'm hurt.
They don't necessarily know that I actually have like 20 people on it that have volunteered that, hey, you can call me at 3 a.m. if you ever need help.
Yeah.
We have this network.
They're in your network. Yep.
A network of volunteers, and we'll go anywhere in our metro area. They don't really know that, but that's the kind of stuff that we can bring if we're doing what we're called to do.
Yeah, and something that specifically ICPC is trying to accomplish, trying to help us stay networked with each other.
Correct, and that's a big part of it. I'm a big believer that we reach out and talk with each other after calls. I mean, I've shared over and over that I've handled some calls that I didn't think were a big deal for me to handle. Like, man, I've seen so much trauma in my life. This was nothing, but I've been telling the other chaplains that I volunteer with that we should talk. So I'm going to call a buddy and talk with. And as I'm talking, I feel this physical lifting off of my body, like something just got released, and I didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
So I need to be humble. I need to have some humility that I'm not Superman. And that's what I would want to convey to other chaplains. Talk, find a support group and use it. Even if you don't feel like you need to, use it regularly.
Ward, thank you for being on this series.
Oh.
Thank you for traveling with me, for taking all my heavy gear in your truck, picking me up at the airport.
I didn't eat any candy unless I was at the conference. Nothing while I was driving, I promise.
And thank you for being a good friend.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Jared. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Now back in our hometown of Kansas City, this is Jared Altic with Ward Jenkins. And this was the Daily ICPC from Hey Chaplain. And as always, pray for peace in our city.